Dear Ezra, it began, you will know how hard it is for me to admit to be wrong, but I must tell you, your instincts regarding the Egyptian canopic jar are right all along. It does, I fear, carry a terrible curse. We should have left it in Egypt where it belongs. The death of a young boy just days after he discovered it in the queer little rock-faced tomb was no accident. Nor should we have argued and fought over the jar. We were good chums, Ezra, but we let the jar breed bad feeling between us. It poisoned our friendship, I am sad to say. Many years ago you told me never to darken your doorstep again, and I respected your wish. Now I find I must communicate with you. I have important, terrible news. Neither of us knew there was anything inside the jar, did we? Yet recently I've discovered it holds a secret. Let me explain. For years the jar stayed packed away in my attic, all but forgotten. Last month something changed. For some unknown reason, the jar began to play on my mind, and when I retrieved it from the attic, I heard a rattling sound, indicating an object was inside. It struck me as strange that neither you nor I had heard such a sound when we brought the jar home all that time ago, in such unhappy circumstances. On removing the lid, which took considerable effort, I found a papyrus scroll rolled up tightly, folded and tied with a leather thong. There was also something stuffed into the base of the jar, a scrap of old linen, probably that I couldn't dislodge. It was the scroll that captivated my interest, and so I set about trying to translate it. The writing was hard to decipher. It wasn't the hieroglyphics I would have expected to see on an important document, but the informal, demontic Egyptian of a personal account. I spent hours, days, at my desk poring over this discovery. As finds go, it was almost as exciting as our first sighting of the jar itself. Remember that, Ezra? How we swooned when we saw it on that market stall. We could not believe Mr. Carter had dismissed it as an insignificant piece. How stupid he would feel now if he could read this translation. When you see whose name appears at the very start of the account, you will understand my elation. Yet I have to warn you, my excitement was short-lived. On the commencing of the translation, I was overcome with a terrible feeling of dread. I can't describe it more eloquently than that. These past couple of weeks, I've suffered nightmares, headaches, fevers. The doctor says it is nervous exhaustion, but I know it's something more sinister, Ezra, something linked to the jar. Of course no one believes me. My own dear wife looks at me across the dinner table each night as if I was insane. I assure you I am not. The jar is back in its box. I cannot bear to look at it or even have it in my study with me any more. Every day I live in fear of some nameless terror. The curse is upon me. Much more of this, and I will have to rid myself of the jar, for my safety and well-being. Perhaps I might return it to you, who always understood the power better than me. Meanwhile, I send you what of the scroll I have translated so far. There is more to come, but my progress is proving slower with what remains. You will be interested to read it. I know, and can, I hope, be of help. Your old friend, Selim Hanawati. I sat with my head in my hands. The letter was a lot to digest. How uncanny that Professor Hanawati had guessed something awful was going to happen to him. It made me more scared for Grandad too, because the letter confirmed that the curse really did exist. So why, after all these years, had it started up again? And what was wrapped in linen in the bottom of the jar? There was no mention of the hotel Grandad spoke about either. The remaining sheets of paper in my hand were the translation, I guessed. Grandad was right. The writing was tiny and cramped so much I had to move closer to the lamp to read it properly. Thebes, Ancient Egypt, March 1323 BC. I, Lysandra, have been trusted to scribe the final days of our King Tutankhamun. Be warned, this is not the official account. Mine is about the boy who didn't want to be Pharaoh, who was at his happiest pelting my brother with pomegranates.